So how many of you have been able to install this thing, the MySQL workbench? Good afternoon. How many of us have been able to install the MySQL workbench? I don't see where it is. No. Yes, that is it. When do you install this? Chairman, I give you a link to follow. Let us do try it. So I can follow it. I gave you guys a link on this slide, right? Yes. So to follow and install workbench. What? And I asked you on the side. So have you been able to connect? I am able to, but there is a connection by SQL connection. What do you do? Tell me what my SQL connection is. Some are ready to chew, some very easy to chew. So, but then when you have to class, so congratulations. We don't have the first time. You have to listen. Yeah. You're supposed to be speaking something yeah, well, you are
I want to share something.
what's up? You did not mess me.
No.
Hey,
Yes.
before you finish messing, you don't look for another network.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
leave it on my 5G now, it's fine. Let me get this. I think I'm also very good to connect. Hmm. I trust you about myself. Amen. You know, my worry is not that they will do something. That is the business of my worry. My biggest worry is that you don't know that the system is doing something. And that is already not. I did a workshop back in Casina. I did a workshop back in Casina, and the people we decided to let them use their phones to follow up. The way they connected, all the phones are updated. And it's not because they're wrong people data, maybe. It's connected? Okay. I hope you're not doing updates soon. All right. Now, how many have workbench and how many don't have workbench? It's not that business. You have, you have. Now, I usually like to combine two people to work together in my classes. The reason is because when I like this, these are exact on that thing, these are what actually this. So two of you work together and then you see what you can do. Okay? Alright. So I'll show you on the system. So two people can share a system please. Madam, you can come forward and join me study. Madam, join me study over there. Do you have it? There is no sharing. Are you online? Oh, we're live. Ah, you didn't send me YouTube links now. Share me your phone, let me see YouTubers. Two pursuits. Okay. Can my phone is not charged? Okay. Amazing. Amazing. You know, connect. You press something. Is it opening? Okay. Last week we discussed on databases and what are databases, why we need databases, and so on and so forth. We made mention of some databases. Do you have workbench on your computer, Chairman? Do you have workbench? You have to install it. So go back and on your computer so as we move forward. So let me see the online people so that they will not get confused. Madam, you two are working together on a single system. Yeah, on a single system, you're working together. The reason is because while I'm explaining, one of you, maybe your mind is not there. The other one will tell you and see what you talk. Ah, Chairman, you won't carry everybody. Ah, haba. If you have someone back. Ah, okay. All right. Welcome back to this class. Online people, you are welcome. I forgot that I had online audience. Now that I've remembered, so I can see your comments and your good afternoon. Somebody is saying Assalamu alaikum. Someone is shouting DBMS and so on and so forth. Now, this is a continuation of the last class we held, which is last week, Friday. Sorry, I'm trying to move the distance so you see my face. Otherwise, you only see my baby. Good afternoon. Welcome in. Do you have any other person? Okay, madam, you can share with him over there. Or do you have workbench on your computer? Do you have workbench? You have it installed. You can log into the database server. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. This is continuation of the previous class. Like I said in the previous class, that this course is co-practical, right? So today we will start the practical part of this class, okay? I don't think I need to remind you the name of the course. It's called Database Management Systems. And we will use the next 1 hour, 30 minutes or 2 hours to learn one or two things, okay? Now, those of you online, please, on my screen is the class code on that is colored green. Please join the class on the platform, okay? That way I know the total number of students I have and the kind of assessment I can be able to issue to all of you, okay? So please join the class with the class code colored green. It's OG0, please. OG0, before somebody will type OO and then it will not work, okay? Now, I have sent the slides around 11 today on the Telegram platform. Now, please endeavor to download it because it's paramount to this class. Okay? Please try and download it because it is paramount to this particular class. Okay? All right. Okay, madam, do you have workbench? Do you have workbench? MySQL workbench, do you have it? You don't. And so there is nothing sharing. Please find someone that has and then sit next to them so that you work together. Okay? Okay. Online people, can you hear me? Okay. Okay. Now, okay. Okay, very good. Now, let's continue. Today's section is practical, and the software we're going to need for this particular practical is called MySQL Workbench. Last week, I gave you a video, a YouTube video to watch and install MySQL Workbench on your machines, on your computers. Now, for those of you that are able to install, that is wonderful. Those of you that were having errors, I pray for God's intervention. And those of you that were not able to install, please try and install MySQL Workbench, because at the end of the course, I will give you an exercise to do, and that exercise will be very, very paramount to this particular course. Now, The reason why I'm still delaying is because today is Friday and some people are still in the mosque coming back. In days we pray early. Other places they pray around 2:30. So that is why I'm still delaying so that I don't move far and then people come and then they are not able to catch up. Okay. Now, now the table of content for today's class is database as in to create it and to delete a database. So one of the things, one of the things we're going to do is we'll be able to create a database and we'll be able to delete a database. And then we'll be able to rename a database if there is need for that. Okay? So we can be able to what? Create a database and what? Delete a database. Okay? Apart from that, we'll be able to create database tables, update the tables, or alter the table, and delete the table. Okay? Remember, most of the data we work with in real life is in tabular form, right? If you remember your secondary school, the attendance you used to your form your is it form mistress or form master? Wait, is it form master or form mistress? No, no, apart from class teacher. In secondary school, you usually have one person that comes and mark attendance in the morning. Uh, that one. So now, if you remember, when they come, they used to what? Call your numbers, right? Everybody has a designated number, right? And then if you're around on that particular week, they what? Tick, right? If you're not around, they what? Times, right? Or cancel. And then if you're not feeling fine, they do what? Some put question mark. Okay? All right. Now, apart from that, if you look at a kiosk or a shop where people sell things and then you go and buy and then they write the item you've bought and the quantity and the price, right? It's in a tabular form too. So now, since we were already conversant with the tabular system, it will be easy for us to know how to create a table in MySQL, right? We should be able to create a table in what? MySQL. Okay? We should be able to update a table in MySQL. And we should be able to delete a table in MySQL. Now, next week we will talk about data manipulation. Data what? Manipulation. Now, next week we're going to discuss on things like how to insert record, how to update record, how to delete record, then how to read record from multiple tables. We'll learn how to pull record from table A and table B and then combine them to display something. And then we'll start to add some logical aspects of some logics to our queries. Like we're able to do something like where. We're able to do something like when. Where and between and so on. Okay. Now, now, database. Okay, let's assume we're creating an ordering system or an inventory system for a kiosk, right? Let's assume a client called you and said, Mr. A, I want you to develop an inventory system for me for my kiosk. And then you tell him, okay, what do you store in your kiosk? Or how does your kiosk operate? He sends you a document like this. I think you can remember this document, right? From the last class. So he sends you a document like this, saying, this is how my data looks like on a very good day. Okay? Whenever something comes in, we record it, and whenever something goes out, we also what? Record it. Now, apart from that, we keep track of what? The items. How many items do we have after the last transaction, right? Now, apart from that, we have different types of order. Okay? We have what? Different types of order. And then let's assume we have different items. Okay? Let's assume we have different what? Items. So we have, let's say, Maggi and Indomie. Let me not call something that's very expensive now. People cannot buy Indomie. What is very cheap now that people can buy? God have mercy. Okay? Now, the very first thing we need to do is what? Is to decide the name of our database. Okay? The very first thing we need to do is what? Determine the name of our database. Now, that is dependent on what? On you. It depends on what? On you. But then it is important to name the database after the business. Okay? Let's assume Mr. A sent you an inventory system. You can say Mr. A's inventory system, or the name of the kiosk inventory system, or you pick the first letters, or like the acronym of the business, and then you put it there as the name of your database. Okay, that way, if you have another project, you will know this database is for this other project, and this one is for another project. Now, please don't name your database like one, O-N-E, or two, or three, unless the business name is one. Okay? Because if you are like me that handles more than 20 projects, 30 projects, and then you put your database name as one, and then you come back and you're looking for it, after your brain has gone haywire, it's not be funny, right? So a database name should be unique. That is the first thing, and it should have something to do with the name of what you are trying to do. So right now, this business is owned by who? Samson. So now, what are the proposed names? It's on the screen, no? Hmm. Hmm. So which one can you propose? Samson kiosk. The first and the third. Interesting. Is there another person that feels the first and the third is the best option? Funny enough, I picked the fourth one. Okay, so I picked the fourth one. So now this is what I'm saying. The name depends on you. You decide what you want to name your what? Your database. Okay? Now, apart from that, we will go now into MySQL workbench. Please, on your MySQL workbench, I don't have it on my system here, so I will need a system that has workbench. I have it, but it's not behaving. Let me see. Sorry, just a moment. Just a moment. I have it here. If I say workbench, And this is what I get. So please, someone help me with the system that has workbench. Chief, we need to transfer systems. Okay? So please, somebody help me with a system that has workbench. And please give me a system that will charge you. Oh, okay. It's off. Okay. Those of you online, please give us a moment. We are going to move to another system. Yeah. How can I get? How can I get the link in here? The link. The link. The link for the this thing for online people. Okay, okay, you have Telegram here? Yes, well, we want to connect. Don't worry, I'll connect to the internet. That one maybe problem. Okay, the Telegram will get stuff then. You can access the. Okay. Yeah. Hmm? At all. Okay. How can I get this particular? Sorry. I don't know. You said you have Telegram, right? Yes, sir. Please, can you send the link to her Telegram? You have Telegram? No, it's there. The school's base page is already. Oh no, not that one. The one that I'm presenting on. I'm presenting to
If
some.
you can just type it on maybe directly.
Okay, so give me the link, please.
Is on your laptop?
Is that cool?
The
Sorry. Sorry. Okay.
workbench.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so I'll stop presenting on this particular screen. Sorry. No, I'm even turning this off. I think so. It says left 31. Okay, okay. Um, share screen. Is it possible for us to borrow another podium? Podium from another class? No, I need my system here by my side, and then I need a podium. Okay. Those online, can you see? Where is the phone? Those online, can you see this thing? Can you see the workbench? They can? Okay. Hey, we say workbench. Somebody is saying work branch. Some people get to hope to work for bank and be branch manager. If not, we're looking about workbench. We're talking about work branch. How about chairman? Okay. Good afternoon. Okay. Okay, let's move on, please. Ladies and gentlemen, now, if you have workbench on your computer, please have it the way I have mine, okay? If you have anything open, please close it. I want us to start from where? Scratch. I'm not the one that's what will do you from beginning, okay? So please, if you have a tab open, please close it so that we'll be on the same page, okay? Because if I put gear 3 now and I pass somebody to come back with a hard me, okay? So please be where I am, okay? Now, if you look at your screen, you will see where it says MySQL connections. Can you see that? All right, MySQL connections. Now, MySQL connections, you will see something like this, right? Now, if you don't have this, if you don't have MySQL connection on your own, what you can do is, can you see this plus button here? The plus button. Can you see it? Click on it. Okay? When you click on it, it will give you this dialog box. Okay? So what do you do? You fill it the way you fill form in road safety office. Okay? You write the name of the connection. You write host name. Usually, if you're working with a computer, if you're working with your own personal computer, the host name is local host. Okay? It's not? Sorry. Okay. Online. Okay, someone is asking online, can I use PHP My Admin? Yes, you can. But the problem with PHP My Admin is you have to know PHP My Admin for you to be able to work with it. Okay? You have to start, first of all, you have to start a server, and then you have to go to the URL, and the process is long. I prefer something that's straightforward. Okay? So if you have that, please go ahead, no problem. Okay? Okay. So now, if you are with me, you will see I started by coming to this particular page, and then I click on what? The plus button, right? When I click on the plus button, a dialog pop up, and then it asks me for what? Connection name, right? The type is TCP IP unless otherwise, okay? The host name is localhost or 127.0.0.1. It's the same thing. It's like calling Abubakar Abu, the same thing, okay? Or calling Kingsley Kings, same thing, okay? All right. Now, the port number by default is 3306, unless you changed it, okay? By default, my SQL lands on 3306. Now, the username, by default, it's usually root, and not root, the person's name. Okay? ROOT, as in your origin, your where you come from, your roots. Okay? Or the under of a tree, those fingers that tree has under the soil. Roots. Okay? And then you can add a schema name if you want, or you can ignore that. It's left to you. Okay? Now, once you enter that information, you click on what? Test connection. If your information is correct, it will show you a success message. If the information is not correct, it will show you what? An error. Like this one now. Okay? Can you see the error on my screen? Saying something, something, something. That means the information you provided is not correct. Okay? Otherwise, it will log you in. It will tell you success and they show you green light and so on and so forth. Okay? Now, if you already have connection by the side, please just go to it and click. Madam, what is the password? Password. Okay, so password is what? Password. And then I can say, okay. Now, I will have a screen like this. Can you see this? Can you see this? Those of you in class, can you see what I'm doing? Okay. Madam, join somebody so that you will be catching up with every other person, okay? You should not be left behind. Okay? Now, one of the first things I need you to do is, by the side of your screen where it says management, can you see navigator? Under navigator, you see management. Can you see that? Navigator by the side there, under it you see management. Can you see management? If you go down, you see administration. Can you see administration? Can you see administration? Yes. We're not doing administration right now. What we want to do is what? We want to work on schemas. Okay? Now, schema is another name for what? Database. Or you can call it database schema. Okay? So please click on what? Schema. Okay? Click on what? Schema. Are we together? Are we together? Are we together? Are we on schema? Now, apart from if you look at the side of the schema, navigator schema, you see something that says something like sys, right? Can you see sys? SYS. That is the reason why I say she sits together. Okay? So can you see sys? That is what? A database. Okay? But we don't want to work on sys. Okay? We want to create our own database. And if you remember in the notes, can somebody please, among the group member, can somebody open the notes so that we'll be working along with the notes. Okay. Okay, are we together? Now, if you remember on the notes, sorry, I'm trying to get to the notes. On the note, we said we wanted to create a database for what? For Samsung's what? Kiosk, right? Now, we've decided to pick a name called what? SKOS. That is the name we decided to use, right? Now, if you go to the next slide, you will see a command that says what? Can you see a command? The first item, it says create database, and then in curly braces, you see what? Name of database, right? Now, please, inside this your input area, can you see the input area? This side here. Here. Can you see my cursor blinking over there that says number 1? Are we together? Now, please type the command create database. Now, we are actually writing SQL queries, okay? So write create database, and then you write database name. I see my own now. It's on Telegram now. I sent it long ago in 11. It's create database. Johnson Margaret, if I send on your screen, then get okay. So if I send on my own data, I get problem now. Is it still blurry? Guys, online. Okay. Is it still blurry online, guys? Is it still blurry? If it's blurry, if it's still blurry, okay. So let me bring up my phone and see. Maybe let us do it like this. Okay, so I have my phone up now. Maybe to get the quality will be better. Okay. All right, let's move on. Now, on line number 1, please type the keyword create. Write the keyword what? Create, and then space, and then you say database. I will type it, but I want you to first type it first. Okay? The command looks like this. Create database. And then we say the database name is what? Capital letter or small letter? SKOS, right? And then you put what? You terminate. Now, that small, is it semicolon? That semicolon is what? Called what? Terminate. You are telling this is the end of the line, okay? Now, if you click on, can you see this Thunderbolt? If you click on this, it will run everything inside this particular file. Let's use the file. It will run everything inside from line 1 to the last line. Okay. If you click on this one, it will what? It will only run this particular line that your pointer is on. Okay. So now, which one do we need to run? Are you sure? We are running the second one. Okay, so now when you run, you will get a message down here. Can you see the message? What does it say? One row what? How many milliseconds does it take? Okay. So now what is it tells us that it has created a database, right? But we can't see it in the list of schemas. 0.1? Yeah, it depends on the speed of your computer. On other computers, it will be like 0.00000. It depends on how fast your computer is actually. Okay? Now, we've created a schema and we cannot see it in where? In the list of schemas by the side. Now, how do we get it to appear? Can you see refresh? We refresh. Can you see this? This is what? Refresh. So you click on this. Can you see the database on my screen? Are we together? Now, this is the annoying part. Let me give you a short story of my life. I started developing Base University student portal long ago, and I used Windows to develop the application. So Windows doesn't care about cases. If you put capital letter, it will make a small letter for you automatically. So I said, as it was working on my computer now, I don't have problem, Abi. When I finished and decided to deploy the application, I deployed on what? On a Linux server. All the queries I've written, I have to go back one by one and edit them back. Because on Linux, it's case sensitive. So please, if you're developing an application, please try to see that you use something that will apply everywhere. If it's not case sensitive, don't use case sensitive. Okay? But like this one now is not case sensitive. So the next thing we want to create, we will not make it case sensitive. Okay? All right, let's move on. I had sleepless nights. God. I still have sleepless nights though. So, all right. Now we've created a schema. Now, how do we delete it? We drop what? There's an option to drop, right?
Yes, sir.
Very good. So what is the option?
Drop schema.
Drop schema or database? Database. Small letter or capital letter? What if you make a small letter? So if I say SKOS, right? And I terminate it and I execute this program, what happens? Is it still there? It's gone? To where? Now, please, in the name of God, in fact, I'm wearing white, that is why I cannot kneel down to beg you. Don't delete database. Under any circumstance, don't delete. I'm begging in the name of God. In the future, you are developing an application. Do not delete database. Because I've deleted Base University database several times while I was working. Thinking I'm deleting my local database, I was deleting the online one. Now, if you don't have backup, you're in trouble. Because this is serious business. Imagine a shop that has been selling items for 10 years and then you delete the database and you cannot retrieve it back. What do you think will happen? How do you calculate people's pension? How do you calculate people's gratuity? How do you calculate? So many problems will arise from that. So please, in the name of God, even if you want to delete, take backup. Okay? If you know, I must delete this database today. Either you like it or not, I must delete it. Take backup. Okay? Because if you don't have backup and you delete and you need to restore, hi, my God. God have mercy. I've deleted databases before that were live, and then I was called. Why is this not working? And I said, but I didn't do anything now. He said, no, it's not working. Check it. And then I check it and it's not working. And then I checked the database, it was empty. In fact, the database was not even there. Thank God, I always take backup before I start anything. I said, sir, it's working. It's working. Sir, check it. It's working. And then I uploaded the backup. And then he checked it. I said, oh, yeah, it's working. It's working. It's working. I said, as I don't have backup, what will I do? Next class. Okay.
Okay, let's move on. Now, we have been able to what? Create a database and what? Delete a database. But the question is this the only way you can do it? The answer is no. The second option you can do is you don't need to write this code. Okay? You don't need to write the code. For those of us that are ahead, we don't buy onion, buy tomato, buy chin chin, buy Google. Now you're asking us to remember the code. It's difficult, right? You can use the GUI part of this particular application. That is why I said use this application. Okay? If you are using PHP it doesn't come with the GUI. Okay? So what can you do? You can come to this side right here. Can you see where my mouse is? Right click. Can you see? What does it say? Click on what? Create schema. And then it's asking me for what? Schema name. What is the name of our schema? So if I say SKOS, and then what next? Is there underscore? Have a mana. No, that is it. You don't need to put you don't need to put anything else. That is it. So you click on what? Apply. Now, can you see the code? And then you can just say apply. So that people can see it. Me, I cannot do that one. Now, once you say apply, it tells you it execute the code what? Successfully, right? And then you do what? And then you do what? You click on finish. And then you can close this. Are we together? Madam, you just click close now. On the side of the page, right? Like here now. Can you see close here? And you just click on that one to close. So we have created a database. Now, how do we delete it if we don't write the code? You come back to the database here, and then you right click on it, and you say what? Drop schema. Is that clear? Is that simple? Or is it hard? No, be honest, if it's hard, just say it's hard. Nobody will laugh at you, except me. Okay? All right. Now, let's move on. What happens if you want to change the name? Can you see this spanner? Can you see it? Click on it. Okay, so we cannot change the name. We cannot change the name. There is a code to alter, I think, database name. I can't remember the code offhand, but I don't think it's of importance, really. All right, let's move on. Now, we've created a database, but it doesn't store anything, right? It doesn't store anything, and we need to be able to store what? Data into it. So now, where do we store the data? We store the data in what? In a table. So how do we create a table? Create table. Now, if you go to the slide, that is why I gave the slide long ago so that you can go through it. Now, let's assume right now. Okay, sorry. Let me run this code. I don't have database anymore, right? I don't have database. Can you see? I don't have KSO. Yeah. Now, let's assume I want to create a table. And then I started saying something like create table user. Sorry, I'll get back to you guys soon. Let's assume this is this is how you create a table, right? Now, if I should execute this code, it will throw an error. Do you know why? Because so far the database does not know, the database server does not know which database we're working on. Okay? It does not know which database we're working on. We have to tell it that we're working on so database. And how do we do that? We tell it to use, and then we give it the database name. Okay? We say what? Use, and then we give it what? The database name. So now I can be able to add something like this and say what? Use, and then I say SKOS. Okay? Are we together? Yes. Are we together? Now, if I should execute this code, what will happen? It will not. No, right now, look at the code. If I should run this code as it is right now, what will happen? No, but then look at on the drop. It's commented.
So that means to stop there.
Yes, so it will run the first line, and it will run the second line, and it will run the third line. Now the third line extends up to line number 8. To stop at where? Line number 8. Are we together? Yes. Are we together? Did I misplace somebody in the market? Did I misplace anybody in the market? So let's move on. Now, come again?
This code that we type all this let's see if we need to explain to us.
Don't worry, I will come to that. This one now, I'm just using as an example. Okay? Now, we want to create what? We have created our database. We have used the database. Let me refresh this. Sorry. Okay. Now, if I say, do you notice something? If I say use, the one I'm using will become bold. Let me execute the use command. So anytime you are working on a database, the database name will become what? Bold. Whenever you're using the database, the name will become what? Bold. Okay? Now, for us to create a table, we need to determine the name of the table. Okay? We need to determine what? The name of the table. Now, if you go to slide number 8 on the slide, if you go to slide number 8, we discuss on database table. Now, if you look at the diagram, you will see we have the table, we have the picture by the side, right? Now, from that picture, we're able to extract what? The fields that we need. Are we together? We're able to extract the fields that we need. Now, what is the first field in there? Date. Followed by what? Followed by what? Followed by what? Followed by what? Then and where did the other number come from? You guys are looking from the picture. I got don't catch you now. It's not at balance. So where you get that number from? Oh God, you're looking at the other side. Hmm? Now, since it's stopped at balance, I said it is very important to store the date and time that you add or that you create the record, right? So that we have a history. Okay? So we have date and time. It's not part of the table, but then we added it there. Now we added order number. Yes? Okay. We added order number. Where did the order number come from? Can you see where it says first order?
Yes.
And the second order? Can you see those?
Yes, sir.
It's still part of your data. It's part of your data. I need to capture it. Okay? So this is a simple form. You can have a form that has a lot of fields, and you need to capture all the data. Okay? Now, since we are able to capture this as our words, as our fields, then we should be able to assign data types to the fields. We need to be able to assign data types. Now, date has which data type? Date has what? If you go to the next slide, slide number 9, you will see date has what type? SON has what? Item specification has what? And then in has what? Out far. Balance info. Order number. Dates. Chairman, see the two of them, they look alike. One is date, one is date time. This one will combine, this one will just only pick the dates only. This one will pick the date and the time. Up to millisecond or thereabout. Okay? Are we together? Are you together? Now, to create the table, we need to give it a name that is in relation to what? To its function. Don't name a table based on your feelings. Like you create a table, you're working on a project and then you create a table and you name it happy, sad, frustrated, frustrated 1, frustrated 2, frustrated, broke 1, broke 2, broke 3. Chairman, are you trying to break somebody's leg? No, you name it based on what? What you need to store in that particular table. Okay? So you name it something like invoice, inventory, notifications, results, student registration. I don't know if I'm making sense. Staff, attendance, timetable. So once you look at the name, you know that this table is doing what? This specific item. This is data is storing. But if you name it broke 1, broke 2, broke 3, you're in trouble. You know when you're learning how to code, you'll be naming things in a funny way. But when you start to have huge applications that has hundreds of database tables, then your head will start to understand that you need to name things appropriately. Because if you don't, it will cost you. It will cost you time, energy that you don't have. So name things appropriately. Now, what is the name of this table we're trying to create? No, the name of that is in the database. Now we're talking about the table. Inventory, right? Okay. And what is the command? Now, why do we have if not exist? The reason why we have that is in the event the table is already there, you should not create it again. Okay? In the event that table is there already, you should not create it again. We can leave it as it is. I don't know if I'm making sense. Okay. Online people don't keep quiet, so I hope I'm still communicating with them. Abi, the lecture don't get boring. Sorry, guys, there's nothing I can do about the. Let me see if it do. Okay. Control plus. Oh, I think now it's bigger, Abi. Online people. And maybe your own is made in China. Okay? All right. Now the dots is where we'll put in the table fields and data types. Keep in mind, it is best practice not to have spaces in your field names. As such, you can use underscore or camel case. What is camel case? It's capital letter, small letter. Or you can make it capital letter at the beginning. And then each word that is coming after that is capital letter too. The rest are small letter. Or you can make everything small letter. Okay? It depends on you. Different people have what? Different preferences. Now, I will not force anybody to do what I want. So it depends on you. Okay, you decide how you want to go about it. But please make sure you don't have spaces. And make sure you don't use numbers as the first part of your name. Okay? No numbers, no underscores at the beginning. You can use it in between or at the middle or at the end. But please try as much as possible to not to use numbers, underscore, minus, times, plus, divide by, equal, all of those things. Dollar sign before. Okay? So now we want to create our table. How do you go about it? So what is the command? So now the problem I'm going to encounter is look at my create statement on the board. If I run this code now holistically, what will happen? I already have a database called what? SQS. So if I run the code, what will happen? That is a problem. It will throw an error. Because I already have it. Which what one? Now, if you add two dashes, two minus minus, you are telling me you are telling to ignore it. When you're executing, you don't want to run that. Okay? So now, how do I escape that problem of this particular error? Can you see the error down there? Where it has red? It's telling me what? And then, Can you see the error message? Here, what does it say? Why? So now how can I run away from that problem? I will change it to if not exist.
Yes.
Okay? So now I can see create database if not exists. So I can put if not exists like this. So if it doesn't exist, create it. If it exists, don't worry. Okay? So now we what? We run. Sorry, let me clear this output. Okay, now can you see? Instead of giving me an error, it's giving me what? A warning that this database already exists. It's not an error, it's just a warning. But then it runs the next command, which is what? Use KSOS, right? Now, to create a table, we said the command is what? Create table. What's the name? Then what next? Right? Then I press enter, right? Then I go to the, you don't need to space it. You don't need to do any indentation. Okay? You don't need to indent. You can leave it like this if you want, but it's usually prettier if you indent. Okay? So now, the first thing is what? The first property, the first item. Huh? On slide number 11. What is entry ID? No, what is it? Why do we put entry ID? If you remember in the previous slide, we didn't have entry ID, right? And then this entry ID comes with some funny jargons, right? If not no, sorry, it's not if, it's not no. What are all those jargons? Is the question. Exactly. Okay. So now we're creating a unique identifier for each row in that database. So now we don't, since we do not, it's not part of the data, we create it on all our tables. That way we can uniquely identify each row in our database table. Now, how do we go about that? So we say int, the type of data we are expecting in there is what? Int. That is the first thing. The second thing is what? Not null. What does not null means? It must not be empty. Under no circumstance will it be empty. Then what comes next? Auto increment. What does that mean? Increase by 1. If you add new data, it will add 1. If you add another 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, till 10 million, like that. Keep on going. Okay? Okay? It keeps on going. Okay? Then what? Primary key. I think last week we discussed what primary key is, right? It's a what? Gang. I know carry money come. Somebody for my money today. It's unique to that column and it identifies that particular row, not column, row. The value in that cell represents the entire data. So you can use it to pull records. Okay? Don't worry about it. We'll go into that in the next class. This one now we're just creating table. Okay? All right. Now, so we have what? And then what? After the primary key, what comes next? There's a comma there. Now, if you don't put that comma, it will not work. And if you don't understand, if you don't know how to read errors, it will frustrate your life. No, this I'm telling you, I'm reiterating how important it is to put that comma. Okay? On the same page. Then what comes next? What is the data type?
Date.
Then which one comes next? What's the data type? Then what comes next? What's the data type? 150. What does that mean? What does 150 mean? Okay.
Maximum.
The maximum length of characters it should receive. If you put above 150, it will reject it. Okay? Then what comes next? So I don't almost forget that comma. In is of what type? Out is of what type? Balance. Data type. Then what? Data type. Then what? Data type. Then what next? Now, what does default mean? In, in the event the date is not specified, it should automatically add the system's date time. Okay? Are we together? Have I misplaced anybody in the market? Not yet? Let's move forward. Okay? So now we need to what? Execute the code, right? How do we execute the code? We click on this beautiful button, right? And then we click on it. Now it's telling me there is what? There is error where? Why is it saying in is a problem? Why?
Because it's a command. That is there.
It's a reserved keyword. It just be like where principal is supposed to park in moto, student who carry bicycle go park for there. You know there is a problem. Uh-huh. So now it's saying in is what? And then out too is a reserved keyword. And and um, and transaction too is a reserved keyword. So now, how do you run away from this problem? Very good. Which word is the question? You know the data we're trying to retrieve. You can do that. You can do that. Or you can add item before. No, item in, item out. It all depends on you. You are the caboose cabas of the database. So you decide what you want to do. Okay? How many of you watch MC Meeting? You don't know MC Meeting in Abuja here and you're living in Abuja? MC Meeting. Guys, So what I usually do is I don't even read the message. I just look at the green or red or yellow. If I see green, I know I don't pass the level. If I see red, haha, well I did somewhere. If I see yellow, I don't pass, but something problem there somewhere. Okay? Are we together? But then the problem I'm facing right now is I have my SQS schema and it says table there. Can you see table under SQS schema? But it's not showing anything there. Why? We've just created a table and it's telling us successful. We need to refresh. Okay? We need to what? Refresh. How do we do that? Now, can you see something? It has what? An arrow, right? Now, if we click on this arrow, what happens? Can you see our database? Can you see the database by the side? Now, the database still has an arrow. What happens if we click on it? It will bring out what? Gang, gang.
Is there a shortcut for refresh?
Nope, I have not done that before, and I don't know. I don't think so. Now, come again. So if I click on column, I'll have all my fields or columns. Can you see them? Now, what are the rest? After column, you have index. What is an index? An index, if you can index a column if you want to use it, if you want to search data on it. That way, the database can be able to know that, well, this table we're going to be searching for things from it. So it will arrange the data based on it, arrange data such that when you're fetching data out, it will be very fast. It indexes all the records, just like you index files. Okay. If you're not fetching data from it, if you're not using a column to filter out data, no need to index it. Okay. Now, if you click on index, what will you see? You see the primary key, which is what? Our entry ID, right? Now, what is foreign key? We discussed it in the last class. Very good. May God bless you. Amen. It's an entry ID or is a primary key of another table in a separate table or in another table. Primary key of another table in another table. Of another table inside our table right now, but we don't have any, right? So it's empty. Now, after that, what is the next item there? Trigger. What is a trigger? Anyone? A trigger in a normal English word. What does a trigger means? Something that spawns an action, right? Now, this trigger is used when you want to do something during the process of when you're trying to add a record into the database, but then you want to be able to check something and add another record into another table separately, or you want to do some calculations and add it to the table. Maybe let's assume I have student results, and the student result is in A, B, C, and D, right? And I want to convert them to the weights, to the weighted average. So now I can add a trigger. That trigger will run anytime I try to add a new record, or anytime I try to update a record, or when I try to delete a record. Does that make sense? Okay, let me open the trigger. A trigger is like an event that happens. When an event happens on a table, event like adding a record, updating a record, or deleting a record, we want a trigger to do something. Okay, let me give you a simple example. Let's assume you have let's assume you have a sensitive database, very sensitive, that you want to know. Let's take university result processing system. University what? Result processing system. It's a what? Sensitive system. Now, someone is trying to change a record. Now, if the person changed the record, we will not have that record again. So we want to add a trigger that keep track of update and delete, such that if somebody tries to update results, it will copy the old record and store it in another table. I don't know if it makes sense. If somebody tries to delete a result, it will delete the result. It won't stop the deletion, but it will copy and just store it somewhere else as a backup. It's built, it's inbuilt. This is one of the functionalities of a trigger. Okay, someone tries to add a record. You set the trigger to when you're trying to add, when you're trying to update, when you're trying to delete. So at any point in time, when you are trying to do those three items, it will run that particular trigger, depending on which settings you set. Okay. Now this is advanced database. I believe you'll be doing it maybe in the next class when we start to insert records and then we want to do some calculations and add some things to other things. Okay. All right. Now we have added a table. How do we delete a table? Drop what? Table. And then the name. We name it element tree now, Abi? So we delete the table easily. Now, what if we don't want to write the code? For my people that don't want to stress their brain, for some of us, like some people like us now, we just prefer to do and then move on, right? Because we find it easier to actually write the code than to go and start clicking. I don't know if you understand. For me, I prefer to write the code because I understand it very well. But for someone that is starting, they don't want to write the code. They have all the time in the world to what? To click and click. So how do you add a table like that? It's quite simple. Please move your cursor to where it says tables. Let's collapse this out. Can you see this? Where it says table here? Put your mouse there. It's right there, above inventory. Are we together? Am I missing anybody? Okay. Now, right click. Can you see create table there? Yes. Can you see create table there? Click on it. Can you see new table there? Yes. Okay. Now, this is one problem with workbench that I need you to understand. Right now, there are things that you are supposed to see that you cannot see. So for you to see them, you need to disable something. Okay? Now, please pay attention to my screen. Can you see these three items? These three items, can you see them? This one, if you click on it, this right thing over here will disappear. Okay? So let's remove it. The one by the side over there, if you click on it, the navigator will disappear. What of the one under? Eh? No, it's not the outputs. That one will disappear too. Now, when the output disappear, can you see columns? Hmm? Can you see column? Okay, now let's imagine we are creating a table that stores the first name, middle name, last name, email address, and phone number of a user. And the table name is what? System users. So what do you need to do? You just say, where it says name here, you just double click on it and clear it out. Can you see this? Clear it out, right? And say you say what? System users. Are you together? Now, where it says columns, can you see this? So you double click on this, and then it will show you some text. Now you can name this entry ID. The type is what? Int. So it's already the type we want, right? Now, is it the primary key? The answer is what? Yes. So we click on this. Now, the moment you click on the primary key, it will check not null, which is NN. So when I click on this, can you see that? Unless if you remove it, but the moment you click on this, it will automatically check not null. Okay? Then what else? Is it unique? It's unique. You don't need to check this. If you can, if you want, but you don't need to. Okay? Then which one is this one? AI. It's not artificial intelligence. It's auto increment. So you check it also. We are creating a new table now, Abi. The other table is inventory now. We are creating a new table called what? System users. Catch up now, chairman. Should I give my coffee? Yeah? Okay. Okay, guys, so we have like 10 minutes to go. You know, when class is sweet, now time they move. When you start to do for that mass, you will look time, you will see me 2:30. Right? When you're doing for that mass, you look at time 2:30. After 3 hours, you check the time, it's still 2:30. Okay, let's move faster now. So now we said we are storing what? First name, middle name, last name, phone number, email address, right? Those are the items we want to store. So now I will move a bit faster so that we'll catch up to time. We have 10 minutes to go. So the first thing, I come here, I click, and then I say what? First name. Data type is what? Variable character. Now, please give enough room for name. Okay? If you put 12 and the person's name is Schwarzenegger, it will reject the name. To God who made it will reject the name. So you give enough space. Now, what is the longest name? Is it up to 60 characters? One name, first name. So 30 is okay. So now, what is proposing is what? 45. I think it's fine. For first name only. First name only. The shortest name I've seen in my life is Ma Li. A Chinese guy we school together. The shortest name in my life that I've seen. His name is Ma. His surname is Li. L-I. M-A-L-I. First name and last name. Everything. The father's name, his name, and his village name. Ma Li. That is it. Shortest name. Now, I propose 45. I will leave it as 45. Okay? Then what? Middle name. Now, is there anybody that does? Do we have anyone in this world that doesn't have a first name? So it's not. We need that data to be inserted, right? So not null, checked. Data cannot be null. Middle name, far. Some people don't have middle name, right? Mm-hmm. What of last name? Some people don't have last name until it reaches to where they want to give you their passport.
Last name is his son name.
His father's name now. Unless if you disown the father.
NN.
It's not null too. So last name is not null. Then what? Email address. Now email address, we give it as much as possible. So we give it around 145. It's not null, checked, and it has to be unique. It has to be unique. You don't want the same person to, let's assume you have a registration system. You don't want the same person to use one email address and register 10 accounts. Right? You want the person to use one email, one account. That is it. So it has to be what? Unique. Then phone number. Can two people have the same phone number? No. Unless if they're using their father's number. And we'll finish before then. So we say phone number is what? Not null, and what? Unique. So now we've added all the data we need. Then what time did they add the record? We also need to know. So we do what? Date time. Now, here we can say what? Insert dates. And the type is what? Date time. Can you see the options? I have what? Date time. So I'm selecting it. Okay? And the default value is what? Current underscore time stamp. Is our table done? Do you need to add anything? Now, can you see where it says engine? Can you see where it says engine? Engine in NoDB. Can you see it? Now, if you are in development mode, you can use any of the engines. Usually, my SQL will push you to my ISAM. But when you're in a production environment, please use InnoDB. Okay? By default, usually when I was using my SQL workbench, the engine is usually my ISAM. Okay? It's okay for development. If you are doing development, if you are developing a software, you can use my ISAM. But when you're deploying it online, please use InnoDB. Okay? I watched the tutorial. I can't remember the reason why they decided to use InnoDB. I can't remember, but if I do, I will let you know. So if it's InnoDB, just leave it as is. Okay? Now, the next thing you need to do is what? Apply. Can you see apply? Auto increment. Maybe you didn't type it right. Okay. So now let's after the class we can look at it. So now, can you see apply? When I click on apply, it will give me the code. Okay. So it's telling me the schema name, lowercase, don't show. So it's telling me that it's going to convert it to lowercase, no problem. So now, can you see the code? Does this look like what we did the previous time? So we click on what? Apply, right? Hmm? Oh, those ones, I never care to know what they are. I know whenever I'm writing queries, I don't even see this stage because I read the code itself. Okay, so now it's generated the code for us, so we can do what? We can click on what? Apply. Now, once we click on apply, we click on what? Finish. Now, if we open back our dialog, our navigator, can you see system users?
Yes, as in tab, yes, sir.
Can you see system users? All right. Now, at any point in time, if you want to change the name of the table, you just click. Sorry, let me close this. You just click on this, right? And then you change the name. You can remove this S and say what? And say what? Now it will show you the code, and then you click on what? And then it has taken effect. Are we together? So far, what we have been able to do is what? We've been able to create two database tables. Okay? We'll be able to create what? Two database tables. Now, in the next class, we will start to play with data. We'll be able to add data, update data, read data, and what? Delete data. We'll be able to do things like backup. No, that one will be in the fourth class. In the fourth week, we'll do backup, we'll do backup, we'll do view, we'll do functions, and so on. Okay? And then we will work on function, we will work on something like a function that adds something and then it adds, when we reach there, you will understand. Let me not blow your mind with all of this. All right. I'll be doing my OPay number for a general contribution. Okay, guys. Any questions? Yeah, okay.